Hello, everybody, and welcome back to that Milan podcast. Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo, alongside you guys. Don't forget to subscribe and follow to the podcast at that Milan Pod on Twitter, Instagram. We'll get clips up. We're also on TikTok as well. We appreciate all the great support that you guys have given us so far this season. It's been very tumultuous, as you guys know very well, and very much so this past weekend. So we'll get into all of that in the international break. We'll have one more recording before I take off for Italy next week, and then we'll figure out and let you guys know how the schedule will be with that. But Matt, another really terrible. This one is a terrible result match. I think everything from top to bottom in terms of performance, result, and then just on and off the pitch with drama. This had everything for Milan, and obviously former players scoring on us. So we'll jump right into this. Milan lose to Fiorentina 2-1. I wasn't able to watch live. I had to watch after the fact. I went live on the channel, so if you guys didn't see my reaction to the second half, you guys can go and check that out under the live tab. But I mean, this right here, first half performance stunk. It was really poor. Milan going behind like they did with the Yassine Adli goal. Just nobody really putting any pressure on him up in the 18-yard box. And that finish from him was phenomenal. We know his technical ability. We know what this player is capable of. And naturally, he had to do it against us. I think he scored in his last two games. He scored in their conference game as well. Fiorentina had 2 less days of rest, Matt. 2 less days of rest. They come out here looking like the side that actually had more rest than us. Speak to kind of the start of the game where Milan come out flat and Fiorentina go ahead to take the lead.
This has been a common theme with this team for really the past couple of years, if I'm being honest. I think, there's always been this sort of, they get up for big games, more or less, and the other teams they sort of play down to. And this isn't to discredit Fiorentina. This is a team that's made deep runs in the Conference League the past 2 years, made finals, came up very short, but have overall played some pretty good football, all things considered. New coach, slew of new players have come in, and something gave me a weird vibe about this game. I know I picked Milan to win 2-1, but traveling to the Franchi, we highlighted some of the previous results against Fiorentina away, and I had a weird feeling about it. For whatever reason, we were kind of going back and forth as to the strength of the lineup, how should we approach this match ahead of the international break, and so on and so forth. And lo and behold, they give you the performance in the first half and really through 90 minutes that we've come to expect from Milan. Very lackadaisical players, don't seem really into it. Obviously, Theo Hernandez, which we'll talk about, was a big culprit of that. And he was wearing the armband, which says a lot, and it's very disappointing. Just that Yassine Adli goal, right? That's kind of the one example that stands out immediately from the first half, where it's a guy that you don't consider to be a goal threat. I mean, he didn't have that reputation coming to Milan and previously at Bordeaux. Those who have watched Bordeaux and watched Yassine, in his time there can maybe say differently, but that's fine. He gets a window of space, and professional footballers, when they have a window of space, I don't care if they have a goal-scoring prowess to them, they can put the ball on net. And Mike Maignan to his back post had really nothing to do there. He couldn't really do much.
He had no chance. He had no chance.
And which has been a common occurrence all year, right? The goals that Milan have conceded in most of these games, the vast majority of them, have basically let Mike Maignan on an island to really not be able to do much. Now, in this game and in previous games, in the Bayer Leverkusen match, the defeat, he was called on many times, and he made some fantastic saves to keep that game in check and keep that game even close. But just, again, the general theme of this team in 2024, 2025 under Paulo Fonseca is so week to week. And you thought we were going to turn the corner post-Derby victory. You thought that was the launching off point for Milan. We strung together another victory over Lecce, and then we had that 3-game win streak between the Derby, Lecce, and Venezia. We're scoring goals. We looked pretty good defensively in those matches. Now you're thinking, okay, like Milan are turning a corner. And then you see the defeat to Leverkusen, you see the defeat to Fiorentina, and it's one step forward, two steps back with this team, because it's not just the defeats that are happening here. There's a lack of unity. There's so many other things from a drama standpoint that seem to circle this team, and they can't get out of their own way. It's one thing to play poorly, but to show unity, and you think a Derby victory would have shown that unity, that would have been that unifying moment under the coach, under the players. Okay, this is where we launch. And now you see, like, week to week, there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of personalities, there's, well, I'm the captain, I want to do this, or I want to score a goal, it's my birthday, or, oh, I earned the penalty, so I want to take it, versus following a pecking order, following roles and responsibilities, and showing that you can stay together throughout the course of a 90-minute match, because I don't care who the opponent is. It could be Fiorentina, it could be a Serie B side. If you're showing this on the field, it really is a bad look and reflection on management, ownership, the coach, the players, yes. But it really also shows you and the other team that you guys don't have your shit together. And you're there for the taking. And all credit to Fiorentina. They played a pretty good match in this. I know that they gave away 2 penalties, but they had other instances in this game. Goals ruled off sides, really taking advantage of the defensive issues from Milan that continue to persist with Fikayo Tomori, who looked horrendous on that second goal. Horrendous on the second goal. So this is what we've seen from Milan. And truthfully, I have to almost take every prediction I give week to week. I can't say, well, we did this last week, we looked good in this 3 days ago, this is what we're going to do on the weekend. Because as we're seeing, guys, this team is so inconsistent and so up and down that we can look great in the Champions League one game maybe, and then we can follow it up with a stinker days later with more rest against a team that, in my view, we are better than them. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the one thing that you can actually, I think that we do consistently, and I'll say this about Milan, is there's always going to be goals involved in the match.
Yep.
Whether Milan create tons of chances, which I think they did in this one, which makes it even more infuriating, the multiple penalty misses. And there was also like plenty of chances actually created in the second half. And I mean, listen, Fiorentina, we played right into their hand. I said it during the live stream that I had. They look so well set up and organized when they're sitting back, absorbing pressure with a 1-0 lead. And when we're set up defensively, everyone is so erratic. When you see teams that are well drilled and well organized, they move in unison. That's sort of what you saw from Fiorentina with Milan, constantly erratic. This guy moving here,
and
Martino,
they have a new coach. They have new players. They don't have their defense is a little bit changed. They've had Milenkovic in the back for years now. He left to Nottingham Forest, so it's not like you have this team that's they look the way they do because they've had this sort of,
and they've been struggling. They weren't
struggling defensively. We talked about how they've been struggling defensively.
Yeah. They haven't, and it's annoying because I think what the bigger issue here is, listen, Milan concede 2 shit goals, right? I mean, the goal by Adli was insane. Magnan gets beat on his near post on the Theo chance. So we'll just talk about, on the Tomori blunder. We'll just sort of like talk about the game, and then I want to go into the drama and how it's a reflection of everything. So again, to just reiterate with this, I think Milan actually played a decent second half. If I'm trying to be objective here, right? I think Milan played a decent second half. The issues with the penalties, I'll get into, and we'll address that. I think there was chances created. Pulisic is phenomenal still. Some of the substitutes kind of made no sense. I understand Fonseca said after the match that Pulisic had a little bit of tenderness in one of his muscles, so they try to be cautious with it. I think Chukwueze did fine when he came on. I think people are being overly dramatic about how one of his shots went to go hit the corner flag. Okay, but here's where we have to be fair. If one shot hits the corner flag, then what about the great chance that he had on goal? He also created another chance that Tammy and the strikers whiffed on. It was a phenomenal cross inside the box. And he's doing this within 10 minutes. He only has 10 minutes to play. And again, he has to sit because Pulisic is phenomenal. So what are the realistic options here? There aren't any. The sub for Leao, I kind of don't get it, to be honest with you. You're heading into the international break. I think you should be keeping your best players on to at least salvage a draw. I know Okafor is sort of this super sub. He was so. But the story is Fiorentina on the counterattack, where David De Gea is turning back the clock. David De Gea basically, he doesn't get an assist. He gets a pre-assist here, where Moise Kean does a great job of laying the ball off to Goodmanson. Lack of communication between, well, Tomori, first of all, completely whiffing that. It's horrendous. It's just his timing with that. He's terrible aerially. We know this. And then Gabbia, kind of, unfortunately, with that situation, when Tomori messed up, he's sort of stuck in no man's land. Who does he pick up in that? Just that lack of communication right there, and the breakdown is really a great summation of where Milan are at. And they're a terrible defensive side. We know it. They're just nowhere near good enough. We say it all the time. I'm not even angry at this point. It's just so get me to the 90th minute. Whatever the result is a result. And I know a lot of people feel this way about it. Like they're zapped of this energy and fandom that they've had for so long, where they get excited each match day. Where I'm just sort of like, whatever happens, man. I know what's going to go down with this team. They're not going to win anything, and holding out hope that they might win something. I respect and appreciate fans and supporters like that, but realistically, what are we doing here?
I think
are we actually hoping for anything right now? I'm hoping for top 4. Again, people are going to conflate this. How many times did they do this with us? We want a title and trophies. What I am assuming is going to happen is that they get none of that and probably top 4.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where we're headed, because this defense is garbage. And who knows what happens in the Champions League. And again, we'll get into the fractured locker room, but just on a playing basis, just tactically speaking with footy, it's poor. It's really poor. And again, square pegs, round holes. You keep trying Morata in these situations, man. He's not a number 10. And we see Maldini getting called up for the national team, playing as a number 10 for Monza, who I personally thought was going to be a left winger in their eyes. I made that mistake. If he was supposed to be a 10, I don't understand how he's not here. I don't get it. It's so again, go talk about the defensive side of things here again, because to me, I see a whole breakdown again.
It's the same problems, Martino. I think it's, players that, you've come to expect to make mistakes, or that you're like on edge when they're put into a position that's somewhat uncomfortable or unconventional, and you just don't have that trust that they're going to do the job. And I'm really saying primarily that on Fikayo Tomori, because I think a conversation needs to be had about Fikayo Tomori, the fact that he's, 25, 26, he's getting into that age of his career where you're like,
he's like almost 27. Yeah.
Right. Like those problems and those consistently fatal flaws of his game come to the light, and man, they really show themselves, and they show themselves really bad. I mean, it's one thing to be, beat in the air by a stronger aerial presence. Yeah. And I'm not saying that was the case here, but if you had a Thuram, or you had, a Vlahovic, and you had guys that just beat him in the air and they expose his weakness as an aerial player, you could kind of go to bat to that, because you're like, hey, he just doesn't do that well. He's not a great aerial player. There's other things he does on the pitch that can help you throughout a 90-minute match. That's not one of them. But it's more of like the common, like the basics and like the fundamentals of your role that he is struggling to do on a consistent basis, and that many of these defenders are struggling to do on a consistent basis. Yep. I mean, my goodness, every time you look at Fikayo Tomori mistakes, it's like they're glaring mistakes. They're not just, he was beat with this and it was a good chance, but he could have done better. It's like, wow, that they scored a goal and it was a bad error by him. Yeah, and I mean, we've seen him, same thing with Malik Chow, same thing with a lot of these guys. And like defensively, I know Matteo Gabbia had the moment against Inter and he's looked good. And this isn't, a dig at any individual player necessarily, but it's like you really look to your defense and you're like, do you have anybody that you feel confident that on a weekly, monthly basis that is going to put in consistently solid shifts?
Nope.
I don't see it right now, Martina. I just truly don't see it. Pavlovic started out decent. He had some shakiness a little bit, obviously acclimating. But then you thought maybe Pavlovic is the guy that's going to be that stabilizing presence. And we talked with Nemanja about this when Milan were interested in Pavlovic.
And he's been 100% right.
Right, and he was bang on. But now it's like you're going with Pavlovic, he shows some rawness. Okay, now he's on the bench. So now it means you can't really build that consistency because the only way you're going to do that is by playing matches, right? Malik Chow came in there, looked very bad early on. We haven't seen him in a while. He was injured. So, like, you really look to your defense and you're like, who gives us some sort of assurances and
the
consistent
manager has to bench these guys too. It's not like he has a choice. Like if Fonseca were to have kept running out Malik Chow, he would have been roasted all over the place for it.
Right.
He had no choice. He has to sit these
So
guys.
like Fonseca's in that situation now where it's like what he maybe can sometimes be praised for when you talk about him versus what Pioli did.
Yeah.
As far as, hey, this ain't working, tear that down, put this guy in. Pioli was very stuck on his ways. And for better or for worse, he was like, I'm running these guys out. These are the guys I know and I feel can do a job for me. And we saw the same habitual feeling and pattern around those players and the mistakes they made. Whereas for Fonseca, he's kind of just latching. He's like, what can I get to work for a couple games?
Because they're all
figured out on the fly. And that's what we're seeing with this defense because we had the 3 games in a row where I think we gave up just the one against Inter. We had the 2 clean sheets, sandwiching that result.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, okay, we turn a corner. We have a shape that we feel is pretty good. We have a pairing that looks okay. Tomori and Gabi is probably the best. And now it's like the next game, they kind of shut you up and make you look stupid. And, look, getting back to your previous point, regarding, the aims and ambitions and ultimately where we see Milan at this current stage and, in the more distant future towards the end of the season is I agree with you. Like for people to misconstrue, well, you guys said we're going to do this. You said Fonseca's that, or you said we had enough defensively. The sentiment has always been that I think this is a top 4 team at best, given the coaching change, given the inconsistencies defensively. In the attack, we feel like we've come on better in recent years, right, than we were previously at the very beginning of Pioli's tenure. So there are some elements of this team that's good, but defensively, the way we put forth our performances back there, we're not going anywhere. Look at the teams that have won titles. I'm going to stick more so in Serie A versus any other league.
Sure.
And those teams, what do they all have in common? They can defend. Not saying they're not going to give up some pretty weird goals and they're not going to have moments where they bleed in goals. But generally speaking, look at Milan in the Scudetto year, down the stretch. They weren't this offensive juggernaut.
I mean, look how Juve
they defended really well in matches and they kept games tight so their offense didn't have to score 2, 3, 4 goals. Look at Napoli in the Scudetto year. For how well drilled they were under Spalletti, they were still a good defensive team. They were one of the best.
Kim was incredible.
Look at Juventus over the years. Look at Juventus this year. For all their flaws and the fact that maybe Dusan Vlahovic can't finish certain chances, and that cost him this past weekend. They've conceded? I think last 5 games. I don't think they've conceded a goal.
They just conceded their first goal in Serie A.
1 goal,
and they're a terrible offense. I think Milan, again, we've said this, leaps and bounds, or actually like it's them and Inter.
And then you look at Inter
in terms of talent,
and Inter can defend. We know they can defend.
They're taking a slight step back.
Milan are not. This is my final point on this topic. They're not going anywhere fast with this defensive record. They're not going to repeat what they did last year as being a team that conceded more goals than Monza, who finished 10th, and expect to finish 2nd and higher in the table because it's more competitive this year. You have a much more competitive Juventus, in my opinion. We're seeing it already. You have a much more competitive Napoli side, and the teams like Atalanta and even Lazio to an extent, although I think that the jury's still out on them. You have much more competitive teams that I can guarantee you this year are going to expose Milan's flaws defensively and take advantage of that. So Milan have to be very careful the way they tread with this defensive record. And I think for that reason, I'm not saying that Fonseca in, Fonseca out, but this is going to be a week-to-week thing. We saw Martino in your favorite NFL team, the Jets, right? 2-3 record through 5 games. They're playing for the division lead on Monday. Now, some people would say they're playing for the division lead. Like, why would you change coaches? Let them work it out.
Whole thing there. Yeah, I know where you're
going. This team, it wouldn't surprise me at the international break, at the end of the year, when you have that long couple week off, if Milan are not in a good position and they're still maybe 4th, 5th, and they're 5 points, that they pick that opportunity to say, it's not working with Fonseca. We have to stop the bleeding and salvage this season. We can't wait. We're going to give our next coach a couple weeks to prep this team. If he does not figure it out very soon, because quickly at the time of recording, Martino, October 9th becomes October 31st and November very quickly in this league. The matches pile up very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they don't play for half of this month. They're not going to play until the 19th.
Exactly.
I think okay, so this is there's a lot to unpack, and this I think we're going to have to obviously do something with management, because this is management's fault. I think straight up. I think they did they set up Pioli to fail to an extent. Pioli was at fault for many things.
Yeah.
I think Fonseca is also at fault for many things. We'll get into that soon. However, this is what annoys me so much. And I know this annoys you too. I know it annoys many people. Where are the solidified slam dunk, you don't have to worry about any player signings at the back? So when you go and implement this strategy of we like to get higher upside players, and this has been stated many times by us, many other podcasts and fans, we all know this. When you go in and someone like Pavlovic, Nemanja mentioned this, Pavlovic upside is great. However, with the current now, and you put someone like him in there, he is very volatile. He is not someone that you could overly rely upon, because he makes poor mistakes. He's probably better suited in a back three. He has to adapt to Serie A.
Yeah.
He's also, the marking and the miscommunication and a new formation with new teammates. That all that stuff matters. And when you compound all of it, it's going to get you the results that you've been getting. However, Fikayo Tomori, isn't he supposed to be the one guy that we're supposed to rely upon here? If Fikayo Tomori plays it to the level that we know that he's capable of playing, that we saw at the first half of last year, Milan probably are nowhere near in the position that they're in currently, because Gabbia has done his job. Gabbia has been a good defender for Milan right now. Where has there been? Can you recall the last time Milan have had two consistent, strong center backs? That was during their Scudetto winning season down the stretch. They haven't gotten that, or
that was months. That was a couple months.
Exactly. And even then you could say, okay, maybe Malek Chow, when they were having that really good stretch around the spring, during the Champions League, they knock out Spurs, they knock out Napoli. They were playing well there. Other than that, the defense has been in shambles. We said it was going to be shambles in this season. That's why I said we're not going to win anything, especially the league. And it's been proven to be true. But it's even worse than I thought. Fonseca hasn't really given enough balance to it. I think he's done a poor job of implementing things and making this team well balanced, right? Because they're so disorganized. And also at the same time, the players are culpable too. Because we'll just get into this. This penalty disaster is just a joke. It's an absolute joke. Okay, listen. When I was talking about this on the stream, and where Tammy Abraham took the second penalty in the match against Venezia, right? These are all circumstantial, because I had some of these questions and comments on social media about this. Like, what would you have done? How do you view this? Okay, this is how I view it, okay? In that 3-0 lead that Milan had, you can afford to give someone else the penalty. Pulisic already had taken that first penalty. You're up 3-0. How much are you really risking here? If you miss the penalty, you're up 3-0 against Venezia at home. You're fine. However, you're on the road to Fiorentina. You're down 1-0 already because of that. Theo, for whatever reason, we still don't know the full reason, goes to take the penalty. Even though Pulisic is a designated penalty taker, he has not missed one at the professional level. The captain, who's already, and this goes back to the Parma game, where he wasn't running as fast, does a poor job, gets benched against Lazio, has the water cooling incident that people, including myself, were giving him a break for. He then starts the next match. They do okay. He gets the captain's armband for this. He does everything but be a captain in this. Everything but being a captain. Him taking this penalty and not only missing it is so embarrassing. Because Pulisic's great. And if you're a manager, by the way, people also think this, that the manager has to reiterate this shit at halftime. You think like he doesn't tell these guys who the designated penalty taker is? This is a known thing. Everybody knows it. There's no way you don't go into this match and it's like, how does Fonseca not have control of these guys?
Martino, just to cut you off and just to, before you continue. Yeah. So this was at the point of the Venezia game, right? Remember we had 2 penalties and, Tammy Abraham got a goal and all that stuff, right? quoted by Tammy Abraham, who took one of these penalties off of Christian Pulisic on the weekend. On his penalty versus Venezia. Okay. Pulisic is the penalty taker, but Leao wanted me to score. It's really nice to have teammates who want you to have at your best. So this was weeks ago, before this even took place, that Tammy himself said after that game against Venezia, where again scored goals, the game was in firmly within our control. He took a penalty, but it was known Pulisic is the penalty taker. So for people to say, well, maybe he didn't know, like maybe Pulisic wasn't the guy,
so perfect point. Yeah.
Right? So I just found it funny and interesting where Tammy, who's played with Pulisic at Chelsea, Tammy, who said it himself, I know Pulisic is the penalty taker, goes and takes a penalty off of Pulisic. It's just a disaster. And that is something I truly, in my opinion, I understand why people say, well, that's under Fonseca. You don't have these guys disciplined. But on the other hand, at some point, you have to trust in professional men playing at a high level this sport, to have some sort of understanding and common sense in those moments to say, guys, like Pulisic's the penalty taker. Like, what are we doing? What do we look like? We look like chumps out here. And then you go and you not make it. You look even worse.
Lack of a true leader here, and this is why, while selling Tonali is an embarrassment. I mean, the actual designated captain can't stay healthy, nor is he good enough to even play to be the captain. This is my issue here too, because if you want to blame Fonseca for certain things, discipline, organization, formation, there's definitely blame on Fonseca. There's no denying that. However, I refuse to blame the manager for grown men acting like children. You just turned 27. You're 27. You've been at Milan for years. Yeah. You were at Real Madrid. How do you not know how to conduct yourself? You need Paolo Maldini checking in on the training ground every day to make sure, hey, Theo, you got your head on screwed right? Stop it. Yeah. It's embarrassing. You know what your job is. You know what you're supposed to do. All the while, you have the captain's armband on, and you're in the midst of a contract extension negotiation, whatever the scenario might be. To me, my opinion of Theo is taking a nosedive right now. It really is. And how I hold him, because this guy is supposed to be taking the next step in his career in being a leader and a protagonist in a different way than he's ever been before. And to me, he's failing. If you're in a contract negotiation, how is everything that you did in this match, or even to the start of the season, right? Because it's just not today. It's multiple games, as we mentioned. What makes you think you deserve a contract extension? What makes you think you deserve the money that you're asking for? Because first of all, you're not playing consistently well enough for it. And secondly, you're acting like a child. So to me, I have a really hard time sitting here and being able to understand or respect where he's coming from. You don't have to like Fonseca. You don't have to agree with him on everything, but you should sure as hell respect what he has to say. Because if he is the designated penalty taker, because now you look like an asshole, because now you look like an idiot, because when you do stuff like that, it reflects poorly on you, it reflects poorly on the manager, and you guys lost. You're spiraling out of control. And do you think other clubs across, you'll get paid because you're a phenomenal player, but do you think other clubs across Europe are looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, Theo Hernandez, slam dunk sort of signing that we don't have to worry about any slight of baggage with this guy? Not talking about the footballing aspect, where there are some flaws, by the way. I'm talking about him as a character. This, to me, when Paolo Maldini congratulates you on scoring and tying his record for most goals by a defender in club history, when he goes out of his way to sign you, and you put on that captain's armband that he wore for so long, do you think you did a great representation of him? You think you did a good job of that? Are you proud of how you look right now? I can't recall a captain being so pathetic for Milan. This to me was the lowest and most embarrassing captain moment that I can recall in a few years. I think
maybe at the end of that derby hit with him and Calabria was also pretty poor.
Calabria too was embarrassing, but like to me, that's more of frustrations boiling over. You just lost the title. what Theo did here is completely different. It's not like Theo's completely insubordinate here. I could never say Calabria was insubordinate. Acting like an idiot, sure. Insubordinate, I think, is a different
in moments like this, you would have expected Theo to take the ball from Tomori or Morata and give it to Pulisic. Here's our taker. Yeah. And I know some people are using this as a way to criticize Pulisic as being maybe too timid. And we talked about, this.
It's a lose-lose for Pulisic.
It's a lose-lose because if he does it in the moment, people say he's selfish.
Yeah.
He's only been here for a year and change. Who is he to take it off the captain, or who is he to take it off, certain individuals who have been here, who have been, have won all over the world. And then if he doesn't do it, see, he's not captain material. He's not aggressive enough. He should say, I'm the taker and take it from him. It's a lose-lose situation. And I think in his defense, he's never been that type of player, in my view, at least yet. He's shown some fire. He's shown some intensity as a player. But I think that it takes a lot to have that sort of, character makeup in moments like that, where you see it's kind of getting a little clashing between the guy who is wearing the armband, and he's supposed to establish order in those situations. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be the shot caller there and saying, Pulisic, take this ball. Take the kick. Shove everybody out of the way. Pulisic, focus on the goal. We're down 1-0. Away. We need these wins. We just got over a big derby victory. We need, let's play this smart here. Let's do the right thing.
Yeah.
Where it became a thing about egos and I earned this, it's my birthday, or I earned this as a penalty. That's where I think that maybe Pulisic it fell short, if you want to say, speaking like if it was me or if it was a certain other individual like Balotelli, right, who has always been like, no, I'm taking this. Ibrahimovic, no, I'm taking this. Mm-hmm. But I think it takes a lot of growing at a club like Milan to muster up that sort of character.
He's only been here for a year. These guys have been here for a few years. They're great players. They're huge protagonists. They've won a title. It's really difficult to pretty much supplant them as the leaders. Right. But this is also management's fault for not perfectly solidifying who the leader of the team is. This is on Fonseca as well. Oh, many guys could be captain. Leao could be captain for this week. Theo could be captain. No. One guy has to be it. Personally speaking, and I know it would be controversial to some because of seniority, there's two players that I think should be captain, and we shouldn't have a dialogue about anything else. Okay. One is Mike Maignan, because I think he is that sort of vocal leader and someone who has that sort of character on the pitch. I don't think you really have to worry about him being insubordinate and all that. And I think people like and respect Mike as a player. Or it's a little bit more difficult because he had just arrived here. It's Morata. Morata would be a far better captain than most of these guys.
So I'm gonna read something from Luca Bianchin from Gazzetta dello Sport.
Right.
He put up a post, and he actually put up an article. I can reshare it for you guys if you guys are interested. But he basically asked the question, who should be captain of Milan? And he gave a list of names, and he kind of gave like a little general blurb as to his feeling on them. Calabria, the tradition, obviously, as the most capped player, but risk of benching. So how can a guy lead if he's really not able to stay in the starting 11, right? Theo has the talent, but he's not an example.
Yes.
Leao is class, but doesn't have that leadership quality.
Correct.
Maignan, leadership, but never with the media. So maybe he's not as vocal or outspoken with the media.
That's true. Yeah.
Morata, he has the CV, but he just arrived here. It's very rare do you get a newly arrived player that becomes captain, but in certain instances, you can establish who the captain is. Bonucci was the one that was, when he came in 2017, 2018. Bonucci was the one that became captain right away. And then the last one was Gabbia, wise, but he's 24 years old. And he doesn't play as many games.
And he's like Milan through and through, I get that.
Yeah.
The funnier thing is, and he wasn't immediate captain because Romagnoli was captain, but we all know who the leader was when number 11 returned. With Zlatan.
Yeah.
We knew that he was the leader. And this is kind of the frustrating thing, I think, because they're so dysfunctional on so many levels, because who has this job? Who's in charge? Forlani's the one negotiating. Moncada is picking the players, but it's Zlatan at the press conferences. It's him negotiating with certain players like Morata. Yeah. He's working for Redbird. Is he working for Milan? Where are his obligations? How many players actually respect him? Because it's still an odd dynamic for a player that was just on the squad to basically not be there for 1 year, return, and then all of a sudden be in charge of certain things and telling them what to do. His presence, how consistent is he as a presence? Is he at Milanello often enough for this? Where you got media members and former players and legends like Boban questioning what his actual autonomy and his job is. That's a problem. And this is going back, unfortunately, and it always does when there's dysfunction in a club. It starts at the top with ownership. And unfortunately, Jerry is weighing over his head and he's not getting the sound advice that he needs. Because again, somebody has to draw up the parallels with the Yankees and George Steinbrenner for him so he understands it on a greater level. Because what he did again, and I still can't get over that quote about who better to lead Milan than Zlatan Ibrahimovic when you sack Paolo Maldini. You cannot do that because, again, that's just full-blown tone deaf. There's no other way to go about it. And again, I point the finger at literally almost every single person involved in this. Because Theo is embarrassing as a leader for this. I think Tammy, I don't know what you're thinking or what you're doing that you think you're entitled to that penalty. You just got here. And Pulisic has been amazing. He saved our asses in that game. If anything, he deserved to take that penalty. It's so mind-boggling because instead of just listening to the manager, because it's funny, people like to blame the manager for certain situations. I would like to say if we listen to the manager, Pulisic at least bags one of the 2 penalties at the very least. And that's what's funny because we're not talking about a dropped result today, but instead we're talking about all this chaos. Who respects who is the leader of the team? There's so many more question marks after this match than not, all because they didn't want to listen to the manager. And that's the funny thing to me, because if you want to blame the manager, when in reality, if they just listen to him, Milan probably have 3 points today.
They probably win this game 3-2.
They have the points. And that's what's frustrating, because here is where Fonseca takes blame, because he doesn't have control of this dressing room. It's clear as day. Because when we and there's a lot of like back and forth on certain things, right? Like when there was that press conference prior to the season, Fonseca's talking about winning a trophy, winning the Scudetto. Zlatan corrects him, and he's like, trophies, right? Plural. Not on the same page. Your director's correcting you. So right there, even if you could overanalyze it, that stuff matters. Then there's the whole Hernandez thing, right? And I just saw Sempre Milan post this article. I think it was translated from Calcio Mercato, where they're like, are Zlatan and Fonseca, who are the manager, and this whatever Zlatan is, right? Whatever you want to call his role,
advisor,
are they on the same page? Because if they're having that slight disagreement on that, Hernandez is where is Hernandez? Where is he? Brother's Bigfoot. We can't find him. Theo is suspended, by the way, albeit at San Siro for Udinese. Who are they playing? Is it going to be Terracciano at left back?
A player that they was potentially going to Como that they wanted to get rid of on the last day.
It was like Como, Torino.
Versus a player in Hernandez who we spent actual money on. Granted,
and
it was
Zlatan said he would be involved.
And he would say, literally came out and said he's going to be our deputy of Theo. What's going on here?
He already wasn't, by the way, because the Lazio match, I think he might have been hurt, Hernandez, so I can't fully confirm that. But again, to me, the dressing room is fractured, partially because of Fonseca. I personally, how I was raised, how I played sport, and it is very funny. There's a bunch of idiots on Twitter thinking, I never played sports, I don't understand these dynamics. This is why you're idiots. And I'll call you out for it, because Matt is a much more classier guy than I am. I think you guys are morons when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think you guys are morons for this reason alone. One, you don't need to be a horse to train one. I don't need to play at the professional level to understand this. I just need to be a professional and adult in a functioning society to understand that when I have a job and someone is my boss, I shut up, I fall in line, and I listen. And this always goes back to Greg Popovich is a great example of this, and all the great teams. You know this too. When your leaders fall in line, so will the rest. When your leader is Theo Hernandez being insubordinate, who do they follow? They all follow. This is and it's immaturity on so many other players' levels. And it's funny too because Rafa never pulled this shit, right? That we just saw from Theo. And Theo is getting nowhere near the criticism that Rafael
Rafa
Leao
would
has
get a lot
gotten
more from
for
Di
far
Canio.
less.
Oh, Di Canio would have killed him for that.
For far less.
He would have killed
This guy Theo doesn't get that, and I'm ripping him, and I love this. I loved it, and it was so funny prior to this match. Remember, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't gotten a Theo jersey yet. I think it's time to go and get one. I'm not doing it now. I'm not doing it now. And you know what's funnier to me is that everybody is to blame here, and that's a real problem because it's sad that the manager can't even get an opportunity to do things because these players think they are who they are. And the reality is they're a team that has finished 19 plus points off of first place in 2 consecutive years. And at the rate it's going this year, it's likely to be that once again. You mentioned it. Juve don't concede. They're playing well. They're going to finish ahead of us at this rate. There's no denying that. There's just simply no denying with the way the trajectories of both teams are going. Napoli, once a week, with their talent, they stay healthy enough, easily ahead of Milan. Not even a question.
They might challenge for a title too.
I think so. Yeah, Napoli can. It depends on how Inter do. Inter, listen, we beat them. Awesome. You know what? What about the rest? The rest is Inter's more consistent.
We're 3 points behind Inter, and
it feels like
Lautaro only just scored his first goal.
He scored he's only scored in 1 league game. Again, this is just, it's not even a microcosm anymore. It is who they are. And they're a dysfunctional group with no leadership. They lack consistency in many key areas. I think the development of certain players has stagnated. Where's Yunus Musa? Has he taken a step forward this year? What is the viewpoint of Yunus Musa in some of these games? He can't even come in to produce or contribute quality-wise. I'm not even like slating Musa himself. It's just, okay, where's that progress? Where is that step forward? Because we really have 2 midfielders that we rely upon right now, right? And to not have him in there in the mix that you're like, oh yeah, we could totally get a great 25 minutes out of him. We're not there. It's a little over a year now. We're not at that point. Fonseca, to me, despite the great result against Inter, we'll see what happens. There's certain things I blame him for, certain things I don't. You're right. He's close to being a dead man walking. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger just yet because I don't think they want to sack him because they're still like in the area. They're relatively close. Yeah. There's no reason to hit the panic button just yet. And it's funny because I think you could still play the silver lining thing. And I don't want to do this because it's embarrassing. It's a loss. There's not great things to take away with. I agree with people. But like, they could have and should have won that game. So it's not like they had no chance with this, right?
Yeah.
I think that kind of matters. But man, I'm not positive enough. I'm not positive at all, actually. I think the only thing I'm positive about is this team is so talented up top with the attackers that they're going to be able to score and create so often that they're probably not going to be out of most games. But they're also not going to position themselves well enough to win games because they can't stop conceding. It's really bad. And I don't think it gets fixed. I have a hard time believing this because look at the leaders. There's no leaders here. Again, all the time we could fall back on Maldini. We could fall back on certain figures like Zlatan. Hell, Romagnoli, man, do I miss that guy. I didn't want him to go. Unfortunately, he did, and he had to. He went back to Lazio to go play for his childhood team. To me, it's just dysfunction on many levels. And by the way, Jeffrey Moncada, bye-bye. You could go. The door's right there. This is poor team building and scouting because why is I didn't even get a chance to talk about him. Emerson Royale was horrible in that game. He was so bad, man. And if you go back, I know you were watching it. The one player I constantly had to call out for being terrible that half was Emerson Royale. Just a complete liability. Absolute garbage. And I don't want to heap and rip a player constantly, but my God, is it warranted? Because it's a glaring weakness for the team. And yeah, there isn't much left to say. I think that what needs to happen here is they need to pick a captain. and it needs to stick that way. Whether I think they should, the safest route is Magnan. I don't give a shit how he deals with the media. Go ahead, go talk to them in interviews. You've done it before. You've done interviews. You could just say the right thing. It's not that hard. Just be the captain. Okay.
It's interesting too, Martino. Just to kind
Go
of
ahead. Just go.
to interject,
No,
because the conversation surrounding the coach, right? The coaching recruitment in the summer was, they were looking at a lot of different coaches with different personalities that, some were maybe more militant and aggressive and over the top and intense, and then others that are more reserved, composed, and they kind of go about things differently. And isn't it interesting, right? Because I think that, we talked to about the coach we wanted, right? I know we were like Conte Sal. We obviously liked Conte. We knew Conte wasn't going to happen for all the reasons everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, right? How you look at Napoli's situation. And this is just a kind of comparison model, right? Because I think, you look at Conte and how he's getting on well with, Di Laurentiis so far. Things can change.
Either way.
He's getting along so far with Cavada, who was almost kind of like 1 foot out the door in the summer when his agent was like, I want him moved, or his father was, I want him moved. Right now, like Cavara, now that the tone is different now. Cavara is speaking very highly of Conte, Lukaku. All these players are all in on Conte. He's got a track record of winning and getting the most out of players. They got rid of Osimhen, right? He was a, for lack of a better word, cancer amongst what they were trying to do going forward, right? Look how they've been able to make it work. Granted, they don't have Champions League. But isn't it interesting, right, where you have a militant, well-drilled manager who expects a lot out of his players and how the players fall in line. They've lost Kim and Jay. They've lost Osimhen. They've lost like veteran presences and leader type individuals or players that are very important pieces of their team the past 2 years. And yet you see how they're able to, in weeks, buy in, fall in line, follow the captain. Same thing at Inter, right? So you almost look and you think, even if Milan got Conte, do you think guys like Theo and some of these other individuals, would they have been too turned off by Conte, or they've bought in? So I think that, again, the conversation really does come down to the shot callers, those who are assembling the team, those who are picking the players. The players themselves, there's quality in this team. There's quality players. Just because I'm saying what I'm saying and you're saying what you're saying about Theo doesn't dispute the fact that he's a fantastic fullback and he's one of the best in football. But it's, again, people are starting to see the dynamic of the absolute importance of not just spending money, 200 million, this club can spend, but getting the right people in the door.
Culture.
Who can call the shots, who can get the guys to buy in. For all the flaws that Pioli had, the fact of the matter is, under his tenure, those guys bought in a lot of the times. His man management is a very important aspect of this sport. You can be great tactically. You can spend all the money you want. If the players don't buy in, you have a problem getting results. Look at Manchester United. They spent way more than everybody. They can't get players to click at all. You've lost the players. When you lose the players, that's where you have the problem. A lot of it is on the players in this situation, for all the reasons we mentioned in this episode. Yeah. But also, too, it's who's putting Fonseca in that position. Who is at the head of scouting? When Moncada was scouting players for this team, and he was an unknown commodity amongst Serie A fans and Milan fans, like, who is this guy Moncada? I know he has ties to Monaco, and now he became a face where people see him more consistently at Milanello, and
he did a good job scouting. It's a different game. Some of the players it's a different game when you're making the decisions on the guys that you bring up.
Exactly, it's different now when people are putting up, because he would be the guy that would give Maldini and Mazzara a name. Here's a couple names. Here's the guys we like based on X, Y, and Z. It's a little different conversation when now you're the one that has to take accountability for a lot of the decisions being made, the players being brought in and recruited.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt. And that's the annoying thing, because like people want to fault Maldini for so many things, which was just always silly to me. He wasn't a perfect director. He was flawed. There were certain things that he could have done better for sure. but all the key things and aspects of team building and progressing as a
they're
club,
important.
he nailed it. He did everything right. It was every year you could see growth and a step forward in the right direction. Even if, the summer after winning the Scudetto, there's so many different reasons as to why things happened, why they didn't happen.
And I want to, real quick, too, and I want to lump Furlani and Ibrahimovic. I don't want to make it just a Moncada thing, and people are going to give it, make you think, why didn't you mention Furlani? Why didn't you mention Ibrahimovic? Them, too.
We did already.
Yeah, we've done it many times. So, yeah.
Yeah, so to just continue off of that, because there's so much more nuance to this conversation. People are like, black and white, Maldini let players walk for free. Okay, first of all, 2 of them said that they were willing to negotiate.
They still won a Scudetto after it.
And they made top 4 because they kept said players, right? They don't make top 4 if they get rid of Hakan, they get rid of Kessie, they get rid of Donnarumma, which were the 3 players that left for free, right? We all know this. Secondly, okay, Kessie said he would have renewed and would have done something. They were salary capped and were in an FFP hellhole because of prior managements and ownerships. Okay, so Maldini had his hands tied. He was the one working through all this shit to begin with. Him, Gazidis, Masada, and Maldini were the ones to work through and identify the right players with a shoestring budget, essentially, for a top club, especially prior to what they were doing. They were paying a 38-year-old Ibrahimovic top dollar compared to the rest of the club. No one else was making more than $4 million net per season besides the fucking goalkeeper. And we wanted to rip the guy because a couple of them left for free. I get it. It was poor in terms of building a budget for yourself and moving forward. They could have sold other players, right? They've done a poor job in certain other aspects. But that's when you grow as a club and you get more capital, not even capital, but when you're growing and you're making the Champions League, you're getting more money in there. Then what Jerry likes to talk about all the time, an ecosystem. If everybody could have just been on the same page about this stuff and understanding that where Jerry was coming from, I understand. The way he is trying and to intend on building a team is not constantly injecting capital. He's not that type of owner. Unfortunately, he could have been better off buying the team in 2017 because then a lot more people would have been on page with where his direction was. And that was, okay, we need to take our time to build this up. Where Milan was, and you talk about the interview all the time, they needed to go take it a step further. Yes, there's financial fair play issues until 2026. We know all of this. And again, Moncada's contract is expiring in June. We don't know where his future lies. Jerry has to pay back a loan as well. Everything is in flux. That's not a good thing. And then again, by the way, to use the example, and this is great because people are like, well, why don't you sell a player to give yourself a great budget? Because that way, that's the way to move forward, right, Matt? Because you have to sell players to get better. And what player did they sell? And how did that work out? Almost every single guy that they sell does fantastic elsewhere. You see Natalie just dunked on us. We see Kalulu being so successful. We've already seen Simic doing well. And then I think there's like a Colombo's doing well on his own, whatever. Maldini is doing fine. We'll see what happens with him. To me, it's just so funny because they're selling all the wrong guys and they're keeping, they're selling all, the wrong guys in terms of you should have kept them. And then they're letting all the ones that probably shouldn't have stayed. And to me, they have no idea what they're doing at this point. I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? You start here, it's a clean slate. You're new management. We don't know what you're going to be able to do. You identify some good players. I disagree with selling Tonali. I disagree with how you go about doing a few things. And then it's really transpired into something a lot worse, which is just a team that can't stop conceding. They don't know how to fix that. Like someone like Buongiorno, again, if you're willing to dish out money for Xerxes, why aren't you willing to dish out money for a well-known, solidified top 5 center back in the league that's left-footed, that is Italian, that would have been within this squad for 10 plus years? You think, no offense, no disrespect to Napoli whatsoever, but when Milan comes calling and they have a project for you and they're willing to pay the same amount, there is a likelihood. I know maybe Conte does sway it to an extent, but there's a strong likelihood that Milan signed the player. They don't do the things that are necessary to put them the extra mile. There's never been that.
Move the needle.
We're never like, the Tonali signing was phenomenal. We all knew what that meant. That was a little seismic in a way, right? one of the best young Italian talents in a few years, is willing to come to Milan, and he's a midfielder, exactly what we need with his skill set. Great. Buongiorno, same thing available. Nah, we're good. How? Why? Why are we doing that? And I knew it wasn't going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. But stuff like that, if management now has the money because they're selling, why aren't they able to make those moves then? You geniuses out there.
People think we're going to be shrewd enough to go and get Samuel Ricci. You think you're going to get him now when he's the talk of the town in Serie A.
Dude, brother, it's over. It's over. Yeah. He's already been linked to the Premier League. It's done. We got our good friend Pet Barisha. Like, who's this guy, Ricky? They're going to get him. We're missing out on him.
And especially with the Calafiori situation proving really well for Arsenal, it's going to create that pathway where they're like, oh, I can do well in England. Like
Tonali was doing great before he got suspended.
Yeah.
And he's done well for Newcastle again. It's just there is a lack of understanding the identity of what you're buying. And Jerry has failed so far. And I do think ownerships multiple times, wherever they are, deserve a few years to let their ideas settle in and all that kind of stuff. Just hasn't happened with Milan. I think they're in a dire situation. We'll see how they do against their bogey team in Udinese when I will be at San Siro, which is, it's really sad because I'm traveling across the world for the first time to go and see the team that I love. And I'm not even like excited to go and watch them. It's sad, honestly. Like I have no excitement. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Obviously, Matt's stuff has been here this entire time. Subscribe, follow the podcast here at That Milan Pod, Apple, Spotify, we're everywhere. Again, follow Matt and all that stuff. You could follow myself at Martino Puccio everywhere as well. We appreciate everybody that shows us support. The MLM podcast with Max and Gino. Semper Milan podcast came out great. Ali's, I'm not sure if you've seen Ali's clip, but Ali's comments on the Theo situation.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I listened to
everything about what the guys were saying on that episode was great. It was bang on. Be sure to go check that out, obviously. Again, Serie A Sit Down, Old Heart Rossonero, Football Kush, so many other great channels and people out there that we love and love to support. Any other comments, Matt, before I end here?
Yeah, I mean, I think just again, I always like to thank the community for showing their love and support for what me and Martino do here. The likes, the subscriptions, the follows, all that good stuff, the comments, the questions. I know we couldn't get many questions in more recent episodes, but I do want to make that a more consistent thing because I know you guys have a lot to say, and I'm a firm believer in giving you guys who help create this community the platform to voice your opinions and express yourself. So we will definitely be doing that very soon. But again, thank you guys, for standing by us and being regulars, right? We see the regular commenters and the likes and all that stuff, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you guys. And yeah, you guys help make this a much more enjoyable experience for Martino and I. So we really do appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. We appreciate all those. Sorry we couldn't get to the questions today. We're pressed for time, and Matt's laptop is about to go night. But yeah, we appreciate you guys once again. Send in those questions. We'll try and answer them on Twitter if we can, if that helps you guys. We really apologize about that. It's just a chaotic situation here. Again, thank you guys so much, and take care.